Friends, Cowboy Joe Boo here at the Joe Boo Report. Stephen A. Smith's been in the news a lot lately for race baiting, supposedly. But does he have a point after Lovie Smith got fired in Tampa Bay after improving the team by 4 wins and having the 5th-rated offense in the NFL? Let's go to the tape and find out.
Broke last night, leaving many shocked. Bucks head coach Lovie Smith was fired after 2 seasons with the organization. Tampa Bay finished 6-10 this season after going 2-14 in Lovie's first year. He had replaced Greg Schiano with a 4-year contract in January 2014. There are now just 4 African-American coaches in the NFL, yet 2/3 of the league are African-American. ESPN's Vaughn McClure is reporting that Smith was fired over the phone. Stephen A., what's your reaction to all this?
Well, first of all, let's be clear. I'm sad for Lovie Smith. I do not believe he deserved this. I think it's a travesty that this happened to him, which is hard to say for a guy with an 8-24 record in his 2 years as a head coach. But the first year was a wash. We all know that. This year was Jameis Winston's rookie year. They went 6-10. They had a lot of good moments before they tailed off near the end of the season. And we're hearing about the possibility that because they want their offensive coordinator to be the head coach and they want to lose him because he's the new golden boy.
Dirk Cutter.
Yeah, that's right, Mr. Cutter. So the Dirk Cutter. So as a result of that, that's why this happened to Lovie Smith. But the fact that it happened over the phone just adds insult to the insulting decision by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have been known to do this before. Yes, we love and respect our very own John Gruden, the voice of Monday Night Football, a Super Bowl champion with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. None of that is to be taken away, but let's not forget who was the architect of things that transpired in Tampa before John Gruden ultimately came in and finished the deal that some would say Tony Dungy would have undoubtedly finished and deserved to have the opportunity to finish. But on a bigger level, this is more the same. How many times do I have to sit up here and be accused of race baiting and beyond because I point out flagrant facts that are literally slapped in our faces on a daily basis? And to be clear, because I had my researchers do some notes, my man David and boys on radio, Jonathan Winthrop and Nuno Texier.
You have your own research?
Yes, I do. My producers on radio, along with David here. Please, you own David. I mean, come on now. David should get a separate check from you for crying out loud.
Sabino, we love you.
We love Sabino, but here's the deal. I had these guys look it up. Skip Bayless, there are 12 offensive or defensive coordinators in the NFL out of 64 who happen to be black. The interesting part that was pointed out is, when you look at some of these coaches, you'll notice many of the coaches are behind head coaching minds on the same side of the ball. So we have a situation where you've got Dennis Thurman with the Buffalo Bills. Well, he never gets any credit because Rex Ryan is there. We got Harold Goodwin.
By the way, Rex took all the blame for the collapse.
There you go. But you got Harold Goodwin for the Arizona Cardinals on offense. Well, he's behind Bruce Arians and assistant head coach Tom Moore. How about Edgar Bennett behind Mike McCarthy in Green Bay? Did we even know that Edgar Bennett was the offensive coordinator? No. So think about the pattern that we're talking here. The few black coordinators that you do have a head coach on the same side of the ball, which means essentially that you're not necessarily leading. Now, there are exceptions. The one exception or the 2 exceptions would be Hugh Jackson, who runs the offense in Cincinnati, hired by a black coach in Marvin Lewis. All right, and he's allowed to do his own thing. And you've got Romeo Crennel, who's a lifer who worked under Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick. So either you got to have a brother giving the brother the opportunity to run his own show, or you have to be an elite Hall of Fame coach secured in your stature in order to hire an African-American to lead. Outside of that, every other African-American coordinator basically has a head coach on the same side of the ball, so you're essentially leading the way, even though that's the job of a head coach, to be fair. The reality is that it's given the impression and the interpretation that black men can't lead. And as a result, now we know why it's hard for black folks to get a head coaching job. Because if they're not getting credit for what they're doing as the coordinators, because they have a boss in the head coach who's on the same side of the ball, there is what you have. Now, to throw it all out there, Skip, let's be fair here, because Molly, you weren't here on this show at this particular time.
Yep.
Who was it who called for Lovie Smith to lose his job in
You
Chicago?
did.
That would be me.
And that was off a 10-6
That's right.
last year.
And that was off a 10-6 last year in Chicago. I said he knew the mandate. The mandate was to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
In 9 years, he only made the playoffs 3 times. Look, he had enough of an opportunity. He deserves to be a head coach, just not in Chicago.
Yeah.
That is what I said. Here, he got railroaded. And so now we look at this situation for what it is, all right? When you look at the coordinator situation that I just broke down, you combine that with the paucity of African-American head coaches. What do we have here? Do I have to spell it out for anybody? I'm just saying, man, it's unbelievable to me that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who should be ashamed of themselves for doing this, all right? It's amazing to me what is transpiring. It's not going to surprise me at all, Skip Bayless, if in a year or two we don't see an African-American head coach in the game, because clearly it's one of those situations where, you know, the Rooney Rule has been instituted. It's been implemented, and still the nonsense takes place. We're going to have Herm Edwards on the show later on today. He came on my radio show yesterday, Skip, and made a very, very valid point. We've got to a point where African-American coaches need to be careful about actually accepting interviews. Because in the case of a Deuce Staley, for example, you had to do the interview because you were working for the Philadelphia Eagles all of these years. But the reality is this. If you are an African-American and you get called for an interview, because they're not serious about the interview, because we all know that Tampa Bay is just going through the process because they already know who they want to give the job to.
We
They
assume
just want
that.
We
We
assume.
assume. Yes.
I'm saying no,
Okay,
damn it.
all right.
We assume literally, but figuratively speaking,
right.
I'm telling you, I know. We know what the hell they're doing,
Yeah.
okay? They know who they're going to hire. So you're going to go through the old standard of honoring the Rooney Rule and interviewing candidates just to say you interview. But Herm Edwards pointed out that the owners will see that and say, well, they've already been interviewed 2 or 3 times and they didn't get those jobs. So evidently they weren't that impressive. So why give them this job? What we're seeing is us taking steps back, not steps forward. I'm sorry if folks believe that's race baiting. It just happens to be factual. But if that's where you want to take it, I don't give a damn.
Okay. I do give a damn about this. And